We have breaking news. The U.S. Supreme Court has blocked the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard in Illinois. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court ruled they will not allow the White House to deploy National Guard troops to the Chicago area as a legal challenge moves forward. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camila Montoya-Galvez joins us now. Camila, what did the justices say in this decision? And is this sort of a stay or is this on the merits?
Well, to justify his attempts to deploy the National Guard to Chicago, Portland, and Los Angeles and other cities across the country, the President Lindsay has argued that violent protesters are obstructing and interfering with federal immigration operations, including by ICE and Border Patrol, and that the National Guard is needed in these Democratic-led cities to protect immigration agents and also facilities where detainees are held. In this case, specifically focused on the Chicago area attempted deployment, the majority of the High Court has said that the Trump administration actually did not meet the requirements in the federal law.
Hey folks, Adam speaking. Sit back, you're in good hands. The internet is flooded with speculation that Trump is about to resign, but there are no credible reports confirming it. The claims are driven by wishful thinking and algorithmic engagement, not actual evidence or official sources. Resignation is not imminent. Now, I understand why these rumors are circulating and why they have gained such traction. I genuinely do. If you look at the sheer volume of legal pressure that has accumulated around Trump's presidency, it is genuinely unprecedented. The National Guard deployment has been blocked by courts across multiple jurisdictions. Troops ordered out of Los Angeles. Deployments in Chicago, Portland, and Washington, D.C. found unlawful. The birthright citizenship order has been enjoined by 4 separate federal courts as violating the 14th Amendment. The wind energy freeze struck down as arbitrary. The FEMA grant termination ruled unlawful executive overreach. The Supreme Court ruled against Trump on FTC firing power.
In the day's other headlines, the Supreme Court has blocked the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops to Chicago for now, while a legal challenge moves forward. It leaves in place a lower court ruling that barred the deployment and marks a rare setback for President Trump. The court's conservative majority has frequently sided with the administration on previous tests of presidential power. Trump has utilized the Guard in Chicago and in other Democrat-led cities to protect ICE agents and federal buildings over the objections of state and local officials.
29 judges on the 7th Circuit unanimously rebuked a pro-Trump ruling. The legal system has been pushing back against this administration in ways that are historically significant and genuinely consequential. But the legal pressure extends far beyond policy rulings. The personal legal jeopardy facing Trump is equally staggering. The civil fraud judgment requiring immediate payment of hundreds of millions of dollars with threats of imprisonment for non-compliance. The hush money conviction, 34 felony counts, with a recording played in court proving Trump approved the Stormy Daniels payoff despite years of denials. The lawyer troubles, with attorneys disqualified and contempt warnings issued against current legal representatives. The Justice Department collapse with thousands of staff fleeing. The cabinet defections. The impeachment resolutions, even if tabled for now. All of this is real. All of this represents genuine, documented, undeniable pressure on Trump's presidency. And when people see this accumulating pressure, when they watch court ruling after court ruling go against the administration, when they see the walls seemingly closing in from every direction, it is entirely natural to extrapolate to resignation. It seems like where this trajectory should lead.
A federal judge speaking out, warning of the death threats he's received after ruling against President Trump. U.S. District Judge John McConnell, who is my next guest, says after he extended a temporary ban on the Trump administration's attempts to freeze trillions in federal spending, the threats began. One of them was a pizza delivery sent to his home, put under the name of Daniel Anderl. That's the name of U.S. District Court Judge Esther Salas's son, who was killed in 2020 when a man targeting the judge showed up at her home and opened fire. Since Judge McConnell ruled against the Trump administration, U.S. Marshals have identified at least 6 credible death threats against him. His wife and daughter have also been targeted. This is one instance that's part of a disturbing increase in threats to judges all across the country.
But here is the crucial thing that the resignation rumors get wrong. Extrapolation from pressure to resignation requires ignoring everything we know about Donald Trump and how he operates. This is a man who has never voluntarily surrendered anything in his life. He fought every lawsuit, no matter how strong the case against him. He appealed every loss, no matter how definitive the ruling. He attacked every judge and prosecutor who moved against him, no matter how legitimate the proceedings. He refused to concede the 2020 election despite overwhelming evidence that he lost, despite recounts and audits and court rulings that confirmed the outcome. He incited a mob to storm the Capitol rather than accept defeat. He watched his supporters attack the seat of American democracy and did nothing for hours. The idea that this person would voluntarily resign, would willingly give up the most powerful position in the world, goes against every pattern of behavior he has exhibited over decades in public life.
President Trump signed executive orders this afternoon targeting birthright citizenship about a month after the Supreme Court rejected his bid to limit the practice.
We had a very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair.
Mr. Trump announced the orders this afternoon in the Oval Office with advisor Stephen Miller looking on. He's a longtime critic of birthright citizenship. The two orders would expand the list of those considered ineligible for birthright citizenship and ban the practice of so-called birth tourism. The White House expressed confidence that the new orders would be able to pass any potential legal challenges.
Trump does not quit. Trump fights. Trump fights until he is forced to stop fighting. And nothing that has happened, despite how dramatic it appears, has forced him to stop fighting. The legal pressure is real, but it has not produced the kind of immediate personal consequences that would compel resignation. He remains in office. He retains the powers of the presidency. He continues to sign executive orders and issue statements and command the attention of the national media. He shows every indication of continuing to exercise those powers, regardless of what courts say. The rulings that have gone against him constrain specific policies, but they have not removed him from power. They have not threatened his ability to remain in office. They are setbacks, sometimes significant setbacks, but they are not existential threats. The social media ecosystem that produces and amplifies these resignation rumors operates on its own logic, disconnected from actual political and legal reality. Reddit threads imagine detailed scenarios, painting pictures of what a Trump resignation might look like, when it might happen, how it might unfold. YouTube videos make dramatic claims about Congress demanding resignation or impeachment within hours, claims that have not materialized and show no signs of materializing. Twitter accounts share speculation as if it were reporting, treating hypotheticals as if they were confirmed facts. The algorithms that govern these platforms reward engagement, and dramatic claims about Trump resigning generate enormous engagement from both people who desperately want it to be true and people who are outraged by the suggestion. This creates a feedback loop where the most extreme claims get the most attention, regardless of whether they have any basis in fact. A Reddit post imagining a future headline, "Trump resigns, may leave America," is explicitly framed as imagination, as a scenario someone is fantasizing about. It is not reporting of actual events, but when that fantasy gets shared and discussed and amplified across dozens of platforms, when it gets picked up by content creators looking for views, when it becomes part of the broader online conversation, it can start to feel like it might be real. It can start to feel like maybe someone knows something. It can start to feel like maybe resignation really is imminent. It is not. The social media speculation is noise, not signal. It is the product of algorithms and psychological dynamics and political desires, not of actual evidence or reporting. And the distinction between the two matters enormously for anyone trying to understand what is actually happening. Let me address the specific claims in the viral resignation content, because examining them closely shows how disconnected from reality much of this speculation really is. The National Guard ruling ordering troops out of Los Angeles is significant, but it does not threaten Trump's presidency. It constrains one specific policy. It requires withdrawal of a limited number of troops. It represents judicial enforcement of limits on domestic military deployment, but Trump remains president after the troops leave. The ruling does not remove him from office. It does not threaten to remove him. It is a policy loss, a setback, a constraint, but not an existential threat. The Jack Smith testimony that resignation rumors often cite requires careful parsing. The federal prosecution of Trump that Jack Smith was handling was dismissed after Trump took office, following Justice Department policy against prosecuting sitting presidents. Smith's testimony about what happened during the investigation is historically significant. It documents what the investigation found. It provides evidence for future accountability. but it does not create current legal jeopardy for Trump. Whatever damning evidence exists in Smith's files, it is not being used in active prosecution while Trump holds office. The direct legal threat is paused. And a paused legal threat is not the kind of imminent danger that produces resignation. The Epstein file situation similarly does not support resignation conclusions. The released files contained photographs of Trump at social events with Epstein, confirming known social associations from decades ago. They did not contain evidence of Trump participating in Epstein's criminal activity. They did not reveal hidden crimes that would force Trump from office. The speculation that Trump might resign to avoid Epstein exposure makes no sense when the exposure has already occurred and did not contain the bombshells some expected. If Trump were going to resign over Epstein, he would have resigned when the files came out. He did not, because the files did not contain resignation-forcing revelations. The betting markets provide a useful reality check against the resignation speculation that has been flooding social media. Polymarket, which aggregates real money predictions from people betting on political outcomes, shows odds of Trump leaving office through resignation or 25th Amendment removal at well under 1%. These are people putting actual money on the line based on their assessment of what will happen. They are not partisan activists. They are not hoping for a particular outcome. They just want to make correct predictions and profit from them. And they overwhelmingly believe Trump will remain in office. When sophisticated bettors with money on the line assess resignation as being extremely unlikely, that should calibrate our expectations. The social media speculation that treats resignation as imminent or even likely is not supported by people who have actual stakes in being correct about political outcomes. The impeachment pressure that resignation rumors cite is real in the sense that impeachment resolutions have been filed. It is not real in the sense of actually threatening removal. Resolutions have cited various Trump abuses and called for impeachment. Members of Congress have been pushing for votes, but the House voted to table the most recent impeachment push by a decisive margin. Democrats joined Republicans in refusing to advance impeachment. The discharge petition that could force a floor vote has not reached the signatures needed. And even if the House somehow impeached, the Senate would need a supermajority to convict. That is not happening under current political conditions. The impeachment pressure exists as political theater and historical documentation, not as an actual threat that would compel resignation. The psychological dynamics driving resignation speculation are worth understanding because they explain why these rumors persist, despite lack of evidence. For Trump opponents, resignation represents the outcome they desperately want. They have watched Trump escape accountability for years, through 2 impeachments, through multiple investigations, through countless scandals. They want to believe that finally the walls are closing in and he will be forced out. Every adverse court ruling becomes evidence that resignation must be coming. Every legal setback gets interpreted through the lens of wishful thinking that this will be the thing that ends his presidency. This psychological investment in desired outcomes can distort perception, making people see evidence of imminent resignation where none exists. For Trump supporters, resignation rumors serve a different psychological function. They can be dismissed as evidence of deranged opposition, proof that Trump's enemies are so consumed by hatred that they fantasize about his downfall. Sharing and mocking resignation rumors reinforces tribal identity. We are the people who see through the liberal fantasy, who know Trump is strong and not going anywhere. The rumors also create a rallying effect. The deep state is trying to force our president out, so we must stand with him more firmly than ever. Both sides get psychological rewards from the resignation speculation, which is why it persists and spreads despite lack of factual basis. The actual political dynamics make resignation extraordinarily unlikely regardless of legal pressure. Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. His base remains loyal. Republican elected officials remain afraid to cross him. The political coalition that would need to pressure him into resignation does not exist. Republican senators are not calling for him to resign. Republican House members are not calling for resignation. The party apparatus remains aligned with Trump, without pressure from his own party, which is the only pressure that could conceivably produce resignation. Trump has no incentive to leave office voluntarily. He retains the powers of the presidency. He can continue fighting his legal battles from that position. He can continue attacking his opponents. He can continue governing, however constrained by court rulings. Voluntary departure would mean giving all of that up and getting nothing in return except the end of his political power. The historical comparison to Nixon, which resignation speculation often invokes, actually illustrates why Trump's situation is different. Nixon resigned because his own party abandoned him. Republican senators told Nixon directly that he would be convicted if impeached, that they would vote to remove him. Nixon saw the writing on the wall and chose resignation over the humiliation of removal. But Trump's situation is fundamentally different. Republican senators are not telling him they will vote to remove. Republican senators are defending him, or at least refusing to break with him publicly. The party has not abandoned Trump the way it abandoned Nixon. Without that abandonment, without the credible threat of removal by his own party, Trump has no reason to resign. He can stay and fight. And staying and fighting is what he has always done. Let me address the specific legal developments that resignation rumors cite as evidence of imminent departure, because examining them closely shows they do not support the conclusions being drawn. The National Guard ruling ordering troops out of Los Angeles is significant, but it does not threaten Trump's presidency. It constrains one specific policy. It requires withdrawal of approximately 100 troops. It represents judicial enforcement of limits on domestic military deployment, but Trump remains president after the troops leave. The ruling does not remove him from office or threaten to remove him. It is a policy loss, not an existential threat. The civil fraud judgment requiring immediate payment of a massive amount with threats of imprisonment for non-compliance is significant. It represents a real financial obligation that creates genuine pressure on Trump's liquidity and business empire. But financial pressure is not the same as political departure. Trump has faced financial pressure before. He has declared bankruptcy multiple times. He has been sued and threatened with penalties. He has always found ways to fight, to delay, to appeal. The fraud judgment will be appealed. The payment will be contested. The process will drag on for years. And while it drags on, Trump will remain president, fighting through the legal system rather than surrendering. The hush money conviction, 34 felonies, represents a historic criminal finding against a sitting president. The recording played in court proved Trump's involvement in the scheme despite years of denials. This is a serious legal matter. It represents genuine consequences for Trump's conduct. But it has not produced imminent resignation because Trump is fighting it through the legal system rather than surrendering. The conviction is on appeal. The appeals process will take months or years. Trump will continue to attack the judge, the prosecutor, the jury, the entire process. He will continue to insist he did nothing wrong, and he will remain in office throughout the process. The lawyer troubles, with attorneys disqualified and contempt warnings issued against current legal representatives, are significant. They affect Trump's ability to mount a legal defense. They create additional pressure, but they do not produce resignation. Trump will find other lawyers. He will continue fighting. He will do everything except voluntarily surrender power. The Justice Department collapse with thousands of staff fleeing is a crisis for the administration. It affects the functioning of government. It creates chaos and dysfunction. But it does not threaten Trump's hold on power. The cabinet defections are significant. They represent political damage. They create additional pressure. But they do not produce resignation. Trump will replace defectors with loyalists. He will continue governing. He will fight on. The impeachment resolutions, even if tabled, represent political pressure. They document congressional dissatisfaction. They provide material for opponents. But they do not threaten actual removal. The House voted decisively to table the most recent impeachment push. Democrats joined Republicans in refusing to advance impeachment. The discharge petition that could force a floor vote has not reached the signatures needed. And even if the House somehow impeached, the Senate would need a supermajority to convict. That is not happening under current political conditions. All of this legal pressure is real. All of it creates genuine challenges for the administration. But none of it has produced credible reporting of imminent resignation. None of it has produced political conditions where resignation becomes necessary or likely. The betting markets assess resignation probability at well under 1%. Republican elected officials are not calling for resignation. The party has not abandoned him. Trump continues fighting rather than surrendering. The resignation rumors are fantasy, not reporting. The distinction between pressure and departure is essential for accurate analysis. You can be under enormous pressure and not resign. You can face legal setbacks and not resign. You can be impeached and not resign. As Trump demonstrated in his first term when he was impeached twice and completed his full term, pressure creates challenges. Pressure does not automatically produce departure. The question of whether Trump will resign is a question about his choices and his political situation, not a question that can be answered simply by pointing to legal pressure. And everything we know about Trump's choices and his political situation suggests he will not resign. He will fight, he will attack, he will deny, He will delay. He will do everything except voluntarily surrender power. The social media ecosystem that generates and amplifies resignation rumors deserves criticism for contributing to political misinformation. When Reddit threads framing explicit fantasies get treated as potentially real information, when YouTube videos making unsupported claims get millions of views, when speculation circulates as if it were reporting, the result is a degraded information environment where people cannot distinguish between what they want to happen and what is actually happening. This affects people across the political spectrum. Trump opponents become convinced resignation is imminent and are repeatedly disappointed when it does not occur, breeding cynicism about whether accountability is ever possible. Trump supporters use the failed predictions to reinforce dismissal of all negative Trump coverage. If they were wrong about resignation, they must be wrong about everything. The rumor ecosystem serves no one's genuine interest. It just generates engagement and confusion. The political implications of false resignation expectations are significant heading into the midterms. Democrats who believe Trump might resign may be less motivated to vote, thinking the problem might solve itself. Democrats who repeatedly hear resignation is imminent and repeatedly see it not happen may become disillusioned with predictions of accountability generally. The crying wolf dynamic, constantly claiming Trump's downfall is imminent when it is not, undermines credibility when genuine threats to his position do emerge. If everything is supposedly resignation forcing and nothing actually produces resignation, people stop believing any adverse development matters. This serves Trump's interest by normalizing his survival of scandals that should be disqualifying. Republicans face their own political calculations around resignation speculation. Some may genuinely believe Trump is in danger and rally to support him more forcefully. Others may see the speculation as useful for fundraising. Trump is under attack, send money to defend him. The resignation rumors become a political tool regardless of their accuracy, something to respond to, something to organize around, something to raise money off of. The truth or falsity of the underlying claims matters less than their political utility. This is how modern political communication works. Claims are evaluated based on their usefulness rather than their accuracy. The question of what would actually produce a Trump resignation is worth considering, even if the answer is essentially nothing short of extraordinary circumstances. Nixon resigned when his own party abandoned him, when conviction in the Senate became certain. For Trump to reach that point would require something like irrefutable evidence of crimes so severe that Republican senators could not defend him, combined with polling showing that continuing to defend him would doom Republican electoral prospects. Neither condition currently exists. The evidence of Trump's misconduct, while substantial, has not broken Republican loyalty. The polling, while showing concerns about Trump, has not shown the kind of electoral catastrophe that would force Republican abandonment. Without those conditions changing dramatically, resignation remains fantasy rather than realistic possibility. The legal pressure will continue regardless of resignation. Courts will keep ruling on Trump administration policies. Some policies will be blocked, some will survive. The back and forth of litigation will continue. Trump will continue attacking judges and claiming persecution. The pattern we have documented throughout his second term will persist. The legal system imposes limits, fines violations, orders corrections. Trump remains president, constrained but not removed. This is the equilibrium we are in. Breaking that equilibrium would require something beyond what has occurred so far, beyond the current legal pressure, beyond the current political dynamics. Until something breaks the equilibrium, expecting resignation is expecting something that has no basis in observable reality. The comparison between what resignation would mean and what continued fighting means helps explain Trump's incentives. If Trump resigns, he loses all presidential powers immediately. He loses the ability to use the office to fight his legal battles. He potentially loses the immunity arguments that have protected him. He faces the prosecutions that were paused during his presidency. He gives up everything and gains nothing. If Trump keeps fighting, he retains presidential power. He retains the ability to attack opponents from the world's biggest platform. He retains whatever protections the office provides. He potentially runs out the clock on various legal matters. He might win some appeals. He might see political circumstances change. The calculation is obvious. There is no scenario where resignation serves Trump's interests better than continued fighting, and Trump always acts in his perceived interests. The actual state of play is straightforward. The legal pressure on Trump is real. Court rulings blocking policies. Massive financial judgments. Lawyer troubles. Impeachment resolutions. All of this represents genuine challenges to his administration. But pressure is not departure. Trump has not indicated any intention to resign. Republican elected officials are not calling for resignation. Betting markets assess resignation probability at well under 1%. The political conditions that would produce resignation, party abandonment, certain conviction, do not exist. Trump will continue fighting because fighting serves his interests and surrendering does not. The legal battles will continue. The court rulings will continue. The pressure will continue. And Trump will remain in office, constrained but not removed, through the legal system's slow processes and the political system's partisan gridlock. Understanding this reality is essential for accurate expectations about what comes next. There will be more court rulings against Trump. There will be more legal pressure. There will be more speculation about resignation every time something dramatic happens. And Trump will remain president, attacking judges, claiming persecution, governing within whatever limits courts impose. This is the pattern. This is the equilibrium. Hoping for resignation does not make it likely. Expecting resignation based on pressure alone ignores everything we know about Trump and his political situation. The resignation rumors are noise. The legal battles are signal. And the signal says, Trump stays and fights. That is what he has always done. That is what he will continue doing. The internet will keep buzzing with speculation. The algorithms will keep amplifying dramatic claims. The content creators will keep producing videos promising that resignation is imminent. But none of that changes the underlying reality. Trump is not resigning. There is no credible evidence that he plans to resign. The legal pressure, while real, has not produced the conditions that would compel resignation. The political dynamics make resignation extraordinarily unlikely, and Trump's own pattern of behavior, his refusal to ever voluntarily surrender anything, his fighting instinct, his belief that he can survive anything, all point in the same direction. He will stay, he will fight, he will continue being president, constrained but not removed. So the next time you see a headline or a post or a video claiming that Trump is about to resign, ask yourself what the evidence actually is. Is there a credible source? Is there actual reporting? Is there anything beyond speculation and wishful thinking? The answer will almost always be no. The resignation rumors are a product of the social media ecosystem, not of political reality. They are engagement bait, not journalism. They are fantasies, not facts. And understanding that distinction is essential for anyone who wants to actually understand what is happening, rather than just being carried along by the noise. Trump won't resign, that's never been on the table, so stop expecting it. The real story is in the courts, the rulings, and the mounting legal pressure, not speculation. I'll keep following what actually happens, free from noise and engagement bait.